Man, it wasn't pretty, but the Broncos got the job done at the end of the day. Uh, wow. Lots of things to talk about from that game. Most importantly, though, Broncos merge victorious. They are now 7-5, still in pole position for that 7 seed in the AFC wild card picture. The Dolphins are the next team up, a game and a half behind, but the Colts lost today.
Yes.
They are now at 4-6, I believe. I think they're 4-6. So they are now what, 2.5 behind the Broncos? Yeah, 2.5.
Yeah, it's Miami Dolphins. I think they got 5 wins, so they're next in line.
Yep, that's the team to watch for. They've got a fairly easy schedule too. I actually just pulled it up because I was curious. Thanksgiving, they got a short week here. Got to travel to Lambeau to play the Packers. That one's tough. Otherwise, though, home against the Jets, at the Texans, that one's tough. The Broncos fans really need to be rooting against them here because after that, you get the Niners, who looked real bad today. They should be healthier then, but still. The Browns and then the Jets again. So three of those games remaining are against teams with 3 wins or fewer. That limits the Broncos' margin of error, which is why it's so great they came away with a win today. I think a lot of us were predicting a blowout, maybe a little disappointing. It wasn't that thunderous of a victory. End of the day, though, they win by double digits. They cover, and you're sitting at 7-5. How are you feeling, David?
Oh man, my heart is still pounding. That was quite an anxiety-filled game for me, but super happy about our Broncos, man. Personally, they avenged my birthday weekend after the Buffs, laid an egg yesterday. Zach, this is a game that we win because of Bo Nix, man. This is normally a Broncos game over the last 8 seasons that we drop. I totally believe it. Max Crosby was playing out of his mind. We could not run the ball. We could not stop him. And our rookie quarterback, Bo Nix, showing that, hey, he might not just be the best rookie in this year's class, but they were already talking about it on the broadcast, man. He is playing like one of the best quarterbacks in football right now, and he showed it today.
Yeah, it's something I put in my game recap article last week. Let the film guys or national media or stats nerds or whoever detract from Bo Nix's performance. Let's see if my camera will refocus. Let whoever detract from Bo Nix's performance. That's fine. It doesn't really matter where they view Bo Nix or if Bo Nix wins Offensive Rookie of the Year. End of the day, he's producing like a top 10 quarterback. Whatever is getting him there. You look at passing yards, passing touchdowns, advanced metrics like DVOA or EPA or success rate over this stretch really since the Saints game. He is a top 10 to top 5 quarterback any way you slice it. And maybe it's the system and maybe it's, whatever. Who cares? If you're producing like a top 10 quarterback, I don't really care how you're getting there. And you could feel that today. I didn't mind or have any fears when the Broncos were down 4 at the half. I was like, hey, they've had a few odd breaks on special teams. I think that's going to kind of bear out in the second half, that they're the better football team. And, there's been years in the past where I thought they were the better team than the Raiders, but they still weren't a good team. So I had no confidence that they were going to, get their act together and finish things off. And to steal Frankie's take here, he put out on Twitter, this is the first season in a while I've had that faith in the Broncos that, it might be ugly right now, but they are going to be the team that emerges on top rather than they're the team that's going to find a way to screw it up at the end.
Totally. I was telling some of my friends, Marky Sports, Jeremy, Strez, was texting some of them, and I just said, man, I feel like we got the Raiders' best punch there in the first half. Like, they got nothing to lose. They were, pulling out all the stops. I mean, the freaking special teams is what was keeping them in this game. You could, allot 10 points, I feel like, to our special teams unit, not covering that fake punt, that big return. And we weren't getting to Gardner Minshew, but what we have in the second half? We gave up 3 points, 6 points, 5 sacks. We played like the Broncos we know in the second half.
Yeah. And that's the thing. The defense, not its best performance today. They definitely struggled a bit. I think especially against a Raiders offense that is lacking in talent. One thing they were successful in, clearly it was a point of emphasis to shut down Brock Bowers, and they did that. Brock Bowers was barely heard from in this game, allowed,
Yeah.
Trey Tucker or whoever to get loose. But I'm happy to lose a game that way. If you want to feed Trey Tucker like crazy, yeah, ends the day with 4 receptions for 38 yards. Let me double check. That is his second lowest yardage total of the season and his lowest since September 29th.
Let's
Like,
go.
great job. Great job by the defense.
Yeah, Pat Surtain played a lot of good coverage on him. Brandon Jones, was coming up clutch as well. And you guys are bringing up in the chat, Riley Moss goes out. We're without Zach Allen, and not the prettiest performance from our defense, but it's a gutsy win, man. That's what I put in my title. This was a gutsy win. We had our guys step up, next man up, and we played. We definitely were the better team today. We deserve to win, and credit for this Broncos defense, not giving up, not checking out when things were not going their way, and some breaks were not going in their favor. We took their best punch, and then we had some counters for him there at the end. Congratulations to Nick Benito. Another sack, man. He must be approaching double-digit sacks now, which is awesome. And I would imagine that we stay. What are we, first in the NFL in sacks? Is that what they showed in the graphic today? So with another 5, we got to be in first place still.
Yeah, no way they're getting knocked from that perch. And then Benito, the strip sack counted as a sack. They gave him the full sack on that. So he's at 10 now on the season.
Wow.
Trey Hendrickson had a bye week. I don't know how the other people who Nix was tied with or, had 8.5 or 8 sacks did, but that should keep him, that Benito, that is, in the sack king chase. I'm excited about that aspect of it.
Yeah. I want to talk about this. I don't want to gloss over this Bo Nix performance. Rock Walker is talking about this in the chat. Nix was moving the sticks with no O-line or run game. Zach, what did you think about some of his anticipatory throws in 3rd and long situations, man, facing these 7-man blitzes?
Yeah, I think it's just his mastery of the NFL game, his feel for it, and then the offense as a whole, his chemistry with all these weapons, that ability to just know where Courtlant Sutton's going to stop, at the confidence that he's going to snap it off at the right point, go up, get the ball. They cited it on the broadcast. Sutton has 5 straight games now of 7 or 6 receptions for 75 plus yards. Like, that's awesome. That's got to be about the first time in his career that's happened. Which is great. I thought he was going to be someone who really suffered going from Russell Wilson to Bo Nix, and the touchdown numbers haven't quite been there. But he had 2 more today, so that's going to get him to 5. He's only 5 behind last season, and last year was just an absurd outlier. He was like top of the league in terms of touchdown receptions. So the yardage is going to top off what he did last year, and I think that's what it is. It's just him getting better feel of everything around him, the NFL game, the offense, his weapons, and man, it looks great.
How about those touchdown throws, man, with facing pressure or rolling out? I mean, the first one was just beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful. And then Courtlant Sutton on the second touchdown, man, keeping his feet in bounds.
I thought it was incomplete at first. I thought he got away with one at first, and then the later angle showed he got it. But man, that was sick. They're playing good football. Like, that's the thing. It's not just, it doesn't feel like last year they were getting away with some stuff and just had this crazy turnover differential. This is just a good football team, and good football teams find a way to win games, even when it's ugly. The Chiefs today, it's not going to count in the standings that the Chiefs barely beat the Panthers by 3 points on a last-second field goal. It's a win in the standings, and that's what these good teams find a way to do.
Yeah, it's been nice to see us still come out, in my opinion, like with a convincing victory when we didn't play our best football. I don't think that, our coaches, I didn't like how Sean Payton managed the end of that game either. And it ended up really not mattering. It didn't affect the score at all, which is just insane. But when we're not at our best, and this is a team that we haven't beaten since they came to Las Vegas, of course you want to win with a larger margin of victory there, but I'm just still impressed to see us put together a win the way that we did. Not playing perfect football. We had no run game today, and normally when that's going on, it's like the margin of error, Zach, for this team to win gutsy games like this in the past, it's just razor thin. And you see how a quarterback can help elevate that, because we scored 2 touchdowns today that I don't think we have with the majority of the quarterbacks that we've had back there since Peyton Manning.
I'm with you. Or just the poise on third down. I mean, there was that comment from David Colson pointing out his poise. That I was in a group chat where they were talking about Bo Nix laughing with Devaughn Vele about that miscommunication. Like, that's a big play in a big spot. It sucks to miss that one when the play was definitely there to be made. And there's no frustration or like, oh goddamn, he's like laughing. He's like, damn, we'll get him next play. And to see that from your rookie who, entering this game just had 11 starts to his name is really, really impressive. I want to touch on the margin of victory thing, and then let's get into the end of game management, because that was rough. But the margin of victory, it doesn't feel great. I think people did expect a bigger blowout. Nonetheless, they covered the line, and a double-digit 10-point victory when you give up a 50-yard kick return, you give up a 50-yard fake punt, and you play just generally a pretty dang ugly football game. Not easy to do. Like, I think, when you consider everything, those special team swings, just generally the fact that the Broncos did not play nearly their best game today, the fact they come away with a 10-point road victory, I think has to leave you feeling pretty good.
Yeah. And again, we're doing it with a young core, and I think that's what's great, man. Our offensive line was not great today, and we still won by double digits, man. We still won by double digits when our offensive line did not have a good game. That's it's amazing. But yeah, Zach, let's get to this end of the game situation, last 5 minutes or so.
That was baffling. They get the ball back, clear chance to run the clock. They go after a Raiders score. They immediately go 3 and out with 3 straight incompletions, give the Raiders the ball back. Then again, they got the ball, right? And again, they barely ran anything. After the turnover, after the strip sack, they could have gotten it down to the 2-minute warning on the very first play. Instead, they don't get it down to the 2-minute warning until third down, which gives the Raiders a whole, minute 55 to work with as they try to come back, which, down 10 points was still pretty far-fetched, but gave them a chance when they really shouldn't have had one whatsoever. Now, I will say, I think the failure here is twofold. I think it's, you need to call some runs. You need to figure out something, even if it's a quarterback run, even maybe another wide receiver smoke screen or something. You need something that keeps the clock rolling. On the other hand, I get why they had no faith in this run game at that point in the contest, which is a problem in and of itself. That doesn't excuse, isn't it like, oh, well, the run game was completely inept, so it's fine. No, also a problem, but I think that makes it a little more manageable.
Yeah. It was because I felt a little conflicted on that first drive. It's like, we're not running the ball, and so you probably just do want to throw it. But some things that we had success with last game, and Zach, you can correct me if you remember seeing anything like this, but I don't think we ran like any of those like short throw tunnel screens, man, like at all this game. And I thought that would have been a nice little situation to run them at, because our screen game was kind of functioning as our run game there in the second half. But I would have liked to see Audric Estime be our closer on those last couple drives. He was somebody, that showed it there right before the 2-minute warning that, hey, you can still run with a stacked box with him, and he's still got like 4 yards. And he's a guy that will still fall forward. So I would have liked to see more of him in the second half. Jaleel, he looked pretty good in some spurts, but again, it just wasn't anything consistent. I think I would have liked to see Audric Estime close in that situation.
I'm with you. On 3 carries, Audric Estime had 15 yards. That's 17 more yards than Javonte had on 8 carries.
Are you
Javonte finishes
serious?
the day with -2 yards on 8 carries, which is absurd. And I mean, estimate first carry pops for 9, second carry, it's uh, uh, everyone knows you're running the ball. It's 2nd and 1. He fights forward, converts the first down, and then third carry gets 5 yards. I don't know why he never got a touch after that. I don't know if he blew some assignment or something, but okay, sit him down for a series or a quarter if you have to, if that's what it was. And I don't even know if that's what it is. I'm just trying to think of some reason.
Yeah.
But come back to him later on. Discipline. How about we discipline Javonte Williams for averaging -0.25 yards per carry and get estimated the ball there at the end? Because yeah, it left the door cracked open when it didn't need to. And yes, that's on Sean Payton. I think it's also really it's on Sean Payton in a few different ways, but it's also just on the run game being completely unable to execute today.
Yeah, like I understand Max Crosby blowing stuff up. Like I understand that happens, but yeah, it just seemed like our interior line was just not did not bring it today, man. And Mike McGlinchey, I know he had his hands full today with Max Crosby, and it wasn't really until maybe partially way through the second half, maybe halfway through, where we started. I felt like we were giving Mike McGlinchey a little bit more consistent help, but he was dealing with Max Crosby on an island, a handful of opportunities. I'm glad he was able to get it together in the second half with the penalties, but yeah, I think we made some things harder on ourselves in this game for sure.
Yeah, some really, really costly penalties in terms of the defensive pass interferences. You talked about McGlinchey. Those first 2 drives, he has -25 yards in penalties. Just ridiculous. So yeah, ugly game. They still come out with a 10-point victory. Uh, Bo Nix, sorry, you talked about him. Let's talk about that a little bit more to get positive. Start talking about maybe some stars of the game.
Yeah.
He had another really clean game. Gets sacked 1 time, 0 interceptions. Did have the balls batted down at the line of scrimmage a lot, which wasn't great. But outside of that, I thought a really good game for him. 25 of 42 for 273 yards, 6.5 yards per attempt. I mean, that's 2 touchdowns. And as we talked about before, the 2 touchdowns were really, really pretty. And Sutton, Vele led the way. I think it's clear they're becoming his 2 most trusted targets. 8 for 97, 2 touches for Sutton, 6 for 80, 0 touchdowns for Devaughn Vele. They're finding something with this passing game. This is a legit NFL pass game right now.
Yeah, I want to read this to you right now, Zach. This is cool stuff. I can't remember the last time I've seen. Well, I haven't really paid attention to it, so you could correct me if you remember. But another situation. But Courtlant Sutton, 12.1 yards average. Vele, 13.3. Marvin Mims, 14.7. Even Troy Franklin, team high 15.5 average yards per reception. He was getting the ball downfield. He was throwing guys open. His anticipation in touch was clutch. And for the most part, we saw our receivers, man. They really brought it. It was tough there on everybody with those first couple drives. Troy Franklin just couldn't track the ball, man. But he got it together, came up with a couple. His last 2 targets were for 30-something yards, 31 yards or so. He finished much better than he started. Marvin Mims, not as big of a game like on the stat sheet or whatever, but 3 catches and just an absolutely crucial first down. I think that might have been on third down where they lined him up in the backfield and pistol. We all knew what was coming, but for some reason, man, the Raiders weren't able to cover it, and Bo just threw a perfect pass where Mims didn't need to break stride at all, and he brings it down to like the 2-yard line. That might have been the play of the game.
I was about to say that's easily one of the biggest plays of the game. It just completely changed the complexion for the Broncos there. Yeah, Mims, they're finding this role for him, and -2 rushing yards today. It was a little reduced today, but he had that big one. He had another where the Raiders send a 0 blitz. They hit Mims on a wide receiver screen, and he takes it for 8 or 9. It was a perfect little answer to kind of punish the Raiders for bringing as much heat as they did. That's another. They presented a lot of heat at Nix. I thought he hung in there, played pretty well. another star of the game. Or sorry, you say what you were going to say there, and then I'll highlight another guy.
Oh, I wasn't going to say anything. I was
Oh,
just
my bad.
smiling.
Hey, lots to be happy about. Malcolm Roach, another star I want to highlight. I think he could easily be overlooked today. He had a sack. He had another where he Gardner Minshew tried to do like a jump pass, and he took his legs out from under him, forced an incomplete errant throw on that one. And then he's the guy that recovers the fumble, which is pretty sweet too.
And I forget why Zach Allen was out, but he definitely was that next man up in the interior. Like DJ Jones, I thought played pretty well there in the second half. Malcolm Roach, man, he really did bring it. And it was Owazurike. Welcome back to the NFL, baby. He's been inactive for most of the season, activated because of this, and he gets his first sack of the season. I love to see it.
First sack of his career in Las Vegas. I mean, gambling capital of the world.
It doesn't get any more poetic than that.
Yeah, I'm thrilled by it. Haven't talked about the Riley Moss of it all much. We touched on it a little. I'm really concerned about that. I think part of the reason the Raiders were able to move the ball as well as they were at points in the second half, despite all the big splash plays by the defense, I think was some of the cornerback play the Broncos were getting from the guys not named Patrick Surtain. I'm worried about that. I'm worried if for this playoff chase, stretch run, they're going to be having to lean on Levi Wallace for 5 games. That scares me. I really, really hope Riley Moss is okay.
Yeah, me too. I'm glad that he was able to walk off. That's not always indicative of structurally how the knee is looking, but I hope he's okay. Maybe he's got to miss a couple of weeks. I'm kind of curious, if kind of where Damari Mathis is within this depth chart. I mean, I guess we know with Levi Wallace coming onto the field with this, but he's somebody that I thought played really well in preseason, and maybe we might have a little bit more depth behind Riley Moss than what we've anticipated. I think that we've just seen great development with everybody on defense this year. Credit to the coaching staff. And if Justin Strnad can play good football this year, maybe Damari Mathis can as well.
Great point, man. Who saw this coming from Justin Strnad? Maybe Damari Mathis can get in there and do a little something. Yeah, hopefully it's nothing that, like you said, he walked off the field. I think the other positive sign, he was initially reported to be questionable to return to the game. I think if they are even considering it at a point, and then he was eventually deemed out once the Broncos pulled ahead. That has me optimistic that hopefully we'll be getting some good Riley Moss related news here shortly. And you know what? If he misses the Browns game, that's not the end of the road. You get a bye week, and then you get the Colts. And I think you can live with some of that. I think you need him back before like the Bengals game, but you got some time. You got some time there. Anything else you feel like you want to hit on with this Broncos W, David?
Yeah, there's a couple things I just want to give shout outs to the guys here on defense that had a sack. Cody Barton, half a sack. Nick Benito, Jonah Ellis, Malcolm Roach, as you pointed out, DJ Jones and Jonathan Cooper with half a sack. And they only gave Owazurike half a sack, man. That ain't right. They're still punishing him.
Got a small hand on him. Yeah, he deserves a full sack. I saw it when it happened. I was like, I wonder if they're going to take half of it for the guy getting like a arm on his foot. But that's one that maybe gets reviewed and overturned. Man, 5 sacks, 10 hits on the quarterback too.
Yeah.
Sorry, excuse me. Damn.
We brought it, man. And, the Browns, they're coming off of a fantastic emotional victory that was an awesome, entertaining game there on Thursday night against the Steelers. And they're going to come in confident. Nick Chubb is back in full force, so let's hope that we can get Zach Allen back this next week. But if there is anybody who can scheme up a nice game plan to deal with turnover prone Jameis Winston. It's got to be Sean Payton, right? Him and Vance Joseph can work on this thing to get the most out of our defense going up against him. This has to be a game that we win next week.
Absolutely. I'm with you there. We've got to take care of the easy ones. If you win these two, then those final 4 games, you have some wiggle room to work with as you're playing the Chargers, the Bengals, the Chiefs. Yeah, you want some wiggle room to work with there. If you use that wiggle room up on the Raiders or the Browns, and thankfully they avoided it today, it hurts. Thank you very much to Paul. Really quick with the super chat, want to answer this question: with the Jets in free fall, should the Broncos go after Breece Hall in the offseason? I'd say why not? I'd say Garrett Wilson too. I don't think you'd be successful fishing on either of those guys, but I'd say you definitely call. They're looking at a blow it up, full tear down situation, kind of like the Broncos were post Russell Wilson. I think whatever GM takes that job is going to want to maximize draft picks. Now, Breece Hall's a really good player. Garrett Wilson's a really good player. Those are probably not guys you ideally want to part with. Breece Hall's though, he's a running back. Next year, next year should be his contract season. I'm pretty sure. Next year will be his contract season. That one's not too far fetched. They got Braylon Allen in there. I think you definitely call. I don't hate that at all. I haven't thought about that one bit. The more I think about it, the more I'm like, I don't think that's that far fetched. David, what's your initial reaction to that idea?
I want to go get weapons. So I'm not going to be picky. There are a lot of upgrades to this skill positions or to these skills position units. Breece Hall, I would be thrilled to get somebody like him. Even if we might be overpaying a bit. But, Zach, this is a name that I am all about right now that I would love the Broncos to go after. I've been sitting on it for a while. And it's about time because, Ashton Genty is going to command a first round pick, right? He's the sexy name, whatever. Bronco to Bronco. It's a cool story, right? Always wearing the orange and blue. Who I feel like could be a dynamic weapon in this offense? We already got the white cornerback. Why don't we draft the next great white running back following CMC in Cameron Scadaboo?
I knew you were going to go with the Scadaboo.
I would love to see it.
He's good. There's so many good running backs in the Big 12. If the Broncos come away with somewhere between like round 5 and round 3, like Big 12 running back, a Devin Neal, this guy's not
DJ Giddens.
DJ Higgins, Taj Boyd. There's a lot of good ones on there. RJ Harvey, even a little later in the draft. Some really nice options. He's with Rock Walker with you, saying I like Scottaboo.
Yes. That guy should be in Heisman consideration, especially if the Sun Devils end up winning the Big 12, man.
Crazy numbers with him there. Crazy. And then you mentioned the Genty thing. I don't mind that either. One thing I think we have to touch on, great news for Broncos country. Nothing definitive yet, but Sean Payton and, coaches I think are generally pretty conservative in terms of, I don't know, when reporting on injuries. I don't think they're ones to really go out on a limb with stuff. So I feel good about this, but nothing official at this point. Sean Payton has said during the postgame presser per Zach Stevens of DNVR that Riley Moss has an MCL injury, but it doesn't appear to be serious, and that he almost considered putting him back in the game.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, maybe you're down him this week. I think, Brown's not a bad week to be down him. Cedric Tillman is a good player, but as far as number 2 receivers go in this league, he's going to rank pretty low on the list. And then Jameis Winston in terms of quarterbacks too. So of all the weeks to lose him, it's this one. Hopefully he's ready to go after the bye week for that Colts game. But what a tremendous break to hear that he hopefully is okay.
Yeah. Sertan, you just got to shut down Jerry Jeudy. I've been happy to, for Jerry. I think it was just one of those situations where both parties were better off apart from each other. I'm happy to see him having some success, but Pat Sertan, you got to show him who the better player is. We got to shut down Jerry Jeudy next week.
And I'm with you. I'm excited for Jerry Jeudy nonetheless. And this is not any Jerry Jeudy hate. It is just like, I don't know. Hey, get out. You're our former guy. You got traded. Like, I don't have any ill will towards Jerry Jeudy. Nonetheless, like, Patrick Surtain locked this guy up. I want a little Aqib Talib, Michael Crabtree. Like, I just want, like, yeah, just destroy the guy like he did against Brock Bowers today. I gotta say, you didn't mention that one individual play. That was maybe my favorite play of the game. Not the most impactful, but the way he just like leveled Brock Bowers. Didn't lower his helmet or anything, just stood up and just, oof, that was a nice hit. Brock Bowers for the next decade, going across the middle against these Denver Broncos is gonna have flashbacks to that moment, and I adore that idea.
He's no Travis Kelce yet, and let's hope it stays that way.
let's hope it stays that way. Man, Brock cannot catch a break. Tony Gonzalez, Antonio Gates, Travis Kelce, Brock Bowers. Can we not have a Hall of Fame tight end in the AFC West all of the time?
Hey, can we have one on our team? All these other tight ends are on these other teams, man.
All right. Any points I'm missing here, David, that you want to hit on?
7-5. I love it, man. And we're in control of our own destiny, firmly in a wild card position. Let's continue to handle business and break this playoff drought. Leave the Jets completely by themselves.
Let's do it. Leave them in the dust. Hey, keep winning games. Looking pretty good. You get a Thanksgiving, everybody. Let's go Pack. Go Pack, go. Let's go Broncos. Playoffs, here we come. Let's go Broncos.